Come on in the room. Bucks win it tonight, 119-111 over the Cleveland Cavaliers. We are live at the Cream City crossover. Come on in the room. Adrian is our doctor. He writes out all of our scriptures. He gives us all of our medicine in our room. Yes, sir. 119-111 Bucks win it. What a game. What a game. That was like the difference between the first half and the second half. The Milwaukee Bucks getting the win. A fun one tonight on the road in Cleveland. Come on in the room. 119-111. Bucks win it. And tonight we have a special guest on the program. Shout out to John Tyus. John Tyus is he's in San Diego. So he's out doing his thing with his family. So he's not going to, his status was doubtful all night tonight. And then we had my guy coming, my guy Khris King is out in Thailand doing what he does. So I thought it was going to be a solo show. But in the clutch, just like Damian Lillard coming in with Dame time in the clutch, we have one of my esteemed colleagues coming to you. I believe he's in Phoenix, Arizona. He is, you can't say enough about this gentleman. He is a capologist, an NBA capologist, a cap guru. He is also a former, he's been inside, at least one NBA team, NBA organization, front office expert, if you will, and then also has been in the well, not the front office, but he's been in an agency as well, in the sports agency world. So he's done front office experience. You got agency experience. We're coming with it tonight. It's your boy D. It's your boy D. Danny Levin on the program. How's it going, Danny?
Hey man, it is an absolute pleasure to be on the program. Long time listener, but finally I can say first time co-host.
There
So
you
I
go.
appreciate coming on and happy to be here and talk a little Bucks Cavs tonight.
Let's talk some Bucks Cavs. It was a 119-111 victory for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight on the road. You'll take them as you get them. Again, game started shaky, but let's do a recap here. Giannis Antetokounmpo finishes 34, 16, and 5. Dame Lillard, Dame time. I think his first quarter he has 7 points. I think the final 24 points for Damian Lillard, 14 in the third and 10 in the fourth. I believe that's correct. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. He finished with 31 and 4 assists. Malik Beasley puts up 15. Khris Middleton. I'm starting to call the first 3 or 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. I say it on Twitter all the time. I say, welcome to the Khris Middleton show, because he's usually out there with the bench unit. Maybe Brook Lopez. I don't think Brook Lopez is out there this time, but he's usually out there with that bench unit, and maybe Malik Beasley or somebody like that, maybe one other starter. And it's clear that Khris Middleton gets to run his own show at that point. But he put up 13 and 11, had some bad turnovers, but he did put up 13 and 11, had some nice buckets and some great assists down the stretch there. Brook Lopez with 9 points, 10 rebounds. Bobby Portis, 9 points, 5 boards. Pat chipped in, did what he does. Marshawn Beauchamp with 5 points. And then Andre Jackson Jr., no points, no stats at all, I think. And then Cam Payne did not accumulate any stats either. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was the first quarter from Jared Allen was absolutely sensational. I think he started off the game, really first half. He started off, I think, 9 for 9 or something like that. He finished with 30, 12, and 6, so a really good game from Jared Allen. They wanted this win. Jared Allen played 40 minutes tonight. I always look at the minutes when you look at teams. I don't say guys want to win versus not want to win. Everybody wants to win, but you can see how much J.B. Bickerstaff wanted this game. Playing Jared Allen 40 minutes. 30, 12, and 6 still wasn't enough. Max Strus with 12 points. Donovan Mitchell, 34, 9, and 6. And then you had Karis LeVert chipping in 6 points. And then it was Porter Jr., Craig Porter Jr., I think his rookie, who came in. All 14 of his points came in the fourth quarter, but he was very good down in the fourth. The Milwaukee Bucks at one point were, I believe, down 15. At one point, they were up 14 or so in this basketball game. So it was a tale of two different halves, but they do win it 119-111 over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I give, just some initial thoughts before I turn it over to you, Danny. The first half of this basketball game, the Cleveland Cavaliers just dominated. And I'll go to, if there's a stat that you want to look at as to why Cleveland didn't win this game, they shot 14% from three. They were 6 for 43. And so one question, we can get into it later, Was that more the Bucks defense, or is that some of just an inefficient night from beyond the arc from Cleveland? I don't know what you want to call it, but it's tough to win when you go 6 of 43, and the Bucks are much more disciplined. They go 12 for 29, 41% versus 14%. The Bucks were just much better. They were more efficient. Cleveland had something going inside the paint. They could not get the scores going from outside. And I'm just watching the game in the first half, and I think a lot of people were probably like, "Oh my God, the Bucks don't look good. What's going on?" But the main thought I had throughout that first half was, Cleveland should be up 20, and they were not. And when they weren't up 20, 25, you just knew that the Tides were going to roll in the third quarter. The Bucks started playing much better. It looked like it was going to be a blowout, but some turnovers. And again, the other thing, first half turnovers killed the Bucks. I think the Bucks finished with 17 turnovers to Cleveland's 8. So that kind of evened things out from the turnover battle to the three-point battle. Made this game close, but it was an 8-point margin that finished. Bucks win it 119-111. Danny, get in here. Give me your thoughts on what you saw tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it best a little while ago. It was really a tale of two halves. I think the first half, you come out and you see the aggression from Cleveland, and the physicality of Cleveland, and they have a lot of young, athletic guys who can play multiple positions, defend multiple positions, and I think you saw in the beginning of the game when they were up 14, 15 points that they, looked like the more energetic team out there, and the younger team out there, and the more physical team. Come second half, we come out towards the end of the first half, but more second half, we come out, and I think I asserted ourselves more offensively and defensively. It looked like, going around screens a little bit harder, more effort, urgency, and shooting the ball better, obviously. And then going to the fourth, we took it up, I believe, 14, 15 points. And, then towards the middle part, I would say the middle part of that fourth quarter going towards the end, the offense just kind of started becoming stagnant. And I think that's something to look out for. I think when the ball stops moving with our offense specifically, and when Brooke or Giannis comes and sets up a screen for Khris or Dame, and we're just kind of like half-ass going around the screen, I think it's, we have to play with more of a consistent sense of urgency and effort for 48 minutes. Now, it's not going to happen every night, but, I think you can tell we are one of the best teams in the NBA as long as we are consistently playing with that effort and urgency. Are the shots always going to fall? No, that's the make or miss league in the NBA. But I think, when we play these more physical teams, these younger teams who want to body us up, and we got to be able to match that. And I think, for probably half the game we did, but half the game we didn't. But at the end, we're one of the most efficient, clutch and efficient teams, if we're up a little bit or within distance in the fourth, and we closed it out tonight. So I think there's lessons to be learned, but positives to take away from it also. So.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of lessons to be learned, a lot of positives to take away from it. If you want to get your thoughts in at TCIIIESQ on the Twitter, we're also on the YouTube as well. Looking at YouTube chat. Titonia World, as always, comes in and says 13 minutes too many. Talking about Khris Middleton, doesn't like the Khris Middleton minutes. And then Nick C says, damn, the Cavs shot so many bricks tonight from three. Yeah, they did. They built up a house. They shot. They did not shoot the ball well. Danny, I want to go back to one of your points that you talked about where you mentioned the lulls offensively, and that's one thing. And it happened in the first half, and it also happened for a bit in the fourth quarter. That's one thing that honestly you haven't seen from this team because the offensive proficiency has been so high from this Damian Lillard-led, Giannis-led offense. Was it something that you saw Cleveland doing tonight that kind of hurt the Bucks that made? Because again, that when I look at the Bucks, that's like one of the only things. I'll say this: years past, that was a given. That in a lot of games, especially a lot of big games, there were going to be these 4, 5, 6 minute stretches of lulls where the scoreboard doesn't move and you may not get the stops you need, and that's going to hurt you. For often this season, I can only think of maybe one or two other games where I've actually seen a stretch of 4 minutes, especially with the starting group in that with main rotation guys that they just weren't able to score the ball. And that happened. One of those times was tonight. Again, they rectified that situation. Do you think it was something that Cleveland did? And I'll say this too. It was funny because there are people on social media calling Jared Allen. He clamping him up. He's clamping. Like meanwhile, Giannis is was on pace for a triple double going to halftime, and he's clamping it. And Giannis finishes with 34, 15, and 5. So y'all gotta stop. Y'all listen. Stop with the clamps. There is no Mr. Clamps. It's not a thing. You may have a couple good possessions against Giannis. You're not clamping Giannis up. At most you're doing, you're not gonna stop. You can only hope to contain him. And so Jared Allen did a decent job containing Giannis, so that he didn't go off for 60 points like he did against Indiana. But he wasn't clamping nothing. He had a couple good plays. Malik Beasley, I thought his passing was excellent. Malik Beasley was hitting threes out the corner all night long. But I go back to my question. Was it something that Cleveland did? Was it Jared Allen? What was it that Cleveland was doing that was able to stop the Bucks, or was it just the Bucks just were not executing at a high level for certain stretches of the basketball game?
I think, especially when in the fourth, when Cleveland was trying to make a comeback, I think they picked up the intensity and effort on ball against Dame and Giannis. I think, honestly, they kind of started, in a sense, going a bit one-on-one, more isolation offense versus, I think, when we got our lead, we kept moving the ball, and was whether driving and kicking or finding the mismatches. I think that's what got us the lead, and I think sometimes we like to go away from that. And I think so. So I think it was kind of a bit of a Cleveland bumping up their intensity, and I think kind of a lack of execution. I think the Bucks kind of, it's just my opinion, but they kind of felt they had a lead and they started getting a little too comfortable. And I think we're talking about this game tonight, but come postseason, every possession counts. And I think I've seen in years past where, especially with, this year is different because obviously we have Dame instead of Drew, but our offense has become stagnant where I just see Khris, Giannis, at that time Drew, this year sometimes Dame, just kind of trying to take over themselves. Whereas what got us that lead is ball movement, taking advantage of the mismatches, and at the end of the day, our defense is our best offense. So they started hitting shots, so we had to play in the half court, and our half court offense just has to be a little bit more consistent and free flowing.
So this is great. This is the duality of man here, because you have John Tyus when he's on the show and talking. He says the Bucks' best defense is another made 3-pointer. You're telling me that the Bucks' best offense is their defense. So it's great stuff. Hearing different perspectives all around from what people think. Let's get to what the people think. At Drew Behringer says Bucks 2 stars carried the team home tonight. Great second half and incredible poise in the fourth when Cleveland made their run. Always impressive winning on the road against a playoff team. Weekly Flow, Dame's coat says, love seeing Griffin put Giannis on Allen. I also love seeing Giannis crash the boards late game. Giannis is as in shape as he's ever been. I also love seeing Dame demand the ball late. 2 great points from Weekly Flow there. Dame did demand the basketball late in the game, and it was much different than the other night against who the Bucks played the other night, Danny? It's escaping me.
The other night, who did they play?
Brooklyn. I think it was Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
yeah,
yes.
So Brooklyn
yes.
the other night, Dame just standing around the 3-point line, shooting up jumpers, and wouldn't attack the basket. He looked very disinterested. Tonight, he took the ball, he won the ball, he really got into the lane. When he turned the corner, he didn't even try to turn the corner against Brooklyn. He's turned the corner tonight, and when Dame gets his shoulder around and his head and peek around, he sees that free lane to the basket. If he could beat you there, he could beat you, and he's gonna get to the bucket or find something good. So I thought that was good tonight. He looked much more interested in the basketball game. So I was impressed with that part. And then Giannis he absolutely crashed the boards. I agree with that. And let me ask this: do you think that some of the reason when we say Giannis is in shape, and when this the viewer says Giannis is as in shape as he's ever seen him, is it because Giannis back in the Bud era? He's playing 30 minutes, and we're taking him out, and we're up 30 all game long, and we're playing 30 minutes, and there's no real. There have been so many more times now where he's got to play 35 and 34 and 36 minutes, and they're not, and that's the other thing about minutes. It's kind of like pitching. There's in baseball, there's a difference between running up your pitches and high leverage pitches, and there's a difference, in my opinion, between just minutes where you're out on a basketball court versus high leverage minutes. And a lot of times when the games are in the balance and these are a lot of clutch situations, those are high leverage minutes. You got to get in the deep. You're not just running around out there for Carter. You got to get in the defensive stance. You got to make a key block. You got to go hard to the basket over Jared Allen or whoever those guys. So do you think that's some of the reason why? And again, maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Could that be some of the reason that we're seeing Giannis? We're saying he's in such great shape here, and he did look good. He did miss some dunks, as Nick C points out on the talking about he missed 4 layups, could have easily dropped 40, 100%. But do you think that's some of the reason that we're seeing? And again, he's shooting at a high percentage as well, some of the highest we've ever seen. Could that be a part of it? Could have been that he hung out with Hakeem, and he was out with Hakeem, and Hakeem got him right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think there is merit to the load management to a certain extent, but come playoffs, there is no load management. And when you're in the Bud era, there was so much injury and load management with Giannis, and I think to a certain extent he wasn't ready for the game shape he needed to be in the playoffs those years under Bud. With that said, he's called the Greek freak. He's kind of a freak, and he can kind of overcome that with his talent and effort and energy. But I think with excuse me, Dr. Griffin.
There you go. There
Uh,
you go.
there we go.
Now we
There we
learning.
go. Dr. Griffin wrote a little script, and he got Giannis some more playing time, and I think it's only going to help moving forward. But I also wanted to touch on a point you made earlier, a little while ago, about Dame's assertiveness in Brooklyn compared to tonight.
Yeah.
I think you've seen points this season where it's clicked, it's worked. They haven't felt, meaning Giannis, Khris, and Dame haven't felt like they're stepping on each other's toes offensively. And I think there's times where they don't know if they should be a passer, a scorer, this or that. And I think that is a huge benefit to making this trade in the offseason for Damian Lillard, because you have an entire training camp, you have an entire season to go through this and figure out what works, what doesn't work. Because if you would have made this trade for him at the trade deadline, granted, it would have helped us, of course, but I think anytime you get two players like Giannis and Dame together who've always been the alphas on their team together, it's going to take pretty much a whole season to get used to each other. So hopefully by the end of the season, now come playoffs, there isn't like game 3 in the Eastern Conference semifinals where they're worried about, I should let him go and just stand in the corner. So I think that point is crucial, that, defensively, offensively, this team's going to grow together throughout the season. There's going to be bad points. There's going to be great points. And I think we just got to kind of stay the course, not get too high, not get too low, and then come playoffs, see what the team's all about.
That's a good point you make about having this opportunity now, and maybe some of the reasons why with the Bucks started 5-4, and you saw some of the fire Griffin stuff, and you saw all of those different things that took place where they didn't look like they were comfortable, and they still don't always look comfortable. To your point there, but yeah, I think that's what this time is for, and that's what I keep stressing to everybody. This is what this time it's as if people are like, the Bucks don't look like they're ready to win a championship right now. They don't look like they go out and beat Boston in 5 games or 6 games, 7 games. Well, it's not May. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing that they don't look like maybe they can do that right now, but it's not time yet that they need to do it, and that's the point. Like, you wouldn't start a semester and be ready for the final in the first 3 weeks of the class. Like that, you got to read the chapters. You got to go through the book. And so many people, it seems like, this is a great point you bring it up here, Danny. So many people want the team to look to run at high octane and all cylinders, full go from October to whenever the season is, hopefully in June. That's what they want, and that's not basketball. It's really not even football. Even football doesn't happen. So yeah, these are growing pains, but this, I'd rather win while this is taking place versus not win, and that's what the Bucks are doing at a very high clip. They're on pace for 56, 57 wins, something like that at the rate they're going. So if you're telling me that and again, there's so much to be made about strength of schedule, up, Cleveland Cavaliers, that's another win over an above 500 team. I know, but people, well, Darius Garland didn't play and Evan Mobley didn't play. Sure, but they got 30 from Jared Allen, so he ain't giving you that any other. He more than made up for what Evan Mobley's gonna do. But anyway, my point there is just it's not time yet to see that, and I'm okay with exactly where the Bucks are right now.
And under Bud, before, I believe it was I don't know if it was his last year or the second to last year, we were so used to dominating the regular season. Like first place, best record in the NBA. And granted, like that's obviously a great place you want to be in. But are you ready for the playoffs though? Because once the playoffs hit, the regular season doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means something. Your record got you to where you're at, but it doesn't mean anything. And I think, I think if people just stay the course, like for me, like that Indiana tournament game in Vegas was very frustrating.
Right.
Because, like, I mean, this is my humble opinion, they have no business beating us. Like, they're a great young team, but, like, we are a better team than them going forward at this point, especially once we get healthy, we get Jay back, potentially make a trade or buyout signing. But I think we just got to stay the course, and then come playoffs, once we've tried these different defensive schemes and they learn how to play with each other offensively, then we let the chips fall where they may, and see what happens at that point. But I think to get so caught up, I think Bucks fans, which is an irony because we were used in the mid 2000s, we were used to losing every year. So now we're used to being the top team. I think it's shown with other teams who've gone farther than us. You don't have to be the top team. You just need to be the team playing right at the right time.
Yeah, that is always the case. You got to be playing your best when it matters at the end of the year. At Rated R, Nuke 414, Justin from NC, my guy, says probably one of the worst first halves I've seen from them play in the first, but they bounced back and played an almost flawless third quarter. This team is really good. And they're coming together. So much for those clamps on to play against the regular season runner-ups. Justin always talking some trash. I like it. Get into it. Talk that trash against the Indiana Pacers. Exactly. I'm with it. And then at Giannis for 3 says, Khris left the building and James took his spot. He's talking about James Christian. He said James Christian Middleton was in there tonight. And then at Saint of Freaks says, great second half, plays solid defense, 34-0. PNR is deadly, and Khris moving great out there. I will say, I was surprised. I thought Khris defensively tonight was much better. Again, I think he was going against Isaac Okoro for a lot of the night, so not like he had a very, a super tough matchup for the most part. But he moved his feet. He was able to stay in front of Okoro for the most part, and I thought he looked really good offensively. Khris has his old man game that he gets in his bag. The only thing that hurts him is when he starts speeding up and gets himself turned over. He has some of by far the ugliest turnovers that you'll ever see. But you just kind of take the bad with the good. We talk about, and Danny, you talked about the role Giannis and Dame having to figure out how they get together. This is an entirely new role for Khris Middleton, and you see him as a facilitator. I mean, routinely now up 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 assists tonight. I mean, he's getting it done, in that fashion. And I think I like his game. Again, if you just cut down the turnovers, I think it'll be all right. I want to get to the thing we talked about pregame, or just pre-show, the rotations. A lot of people ask about Damian Lillard's rotation in Dr. Griffin's scheme. He plays the same rotation every night. Like, people go, in one of those lulls, Danny, I saw people asking, like, why is, the Bucks didn't score in like And it was like 4 or 5. They had a field goal in like 5 minutes. It's like 10 minutes of real time, and Dame didn't come in. And there was I think against Brooklyn, they were upset. Dame sat, and for whatever reason against Brooklyn the other night, there was like there was a stretch of like 7 consecutive minutes of no whistles, and both Giannis and Dame sat at the scores table from like the 6 minute mark to the 2 minute mark, and people were upset about that. And it's like Dame asked to play the first 12 minutes of the first quarter. He wanted to play the entire first quarter. That's what he wanted to do, and to Dr. Griffin's credit, he listened to him. He let him do it. So you can't then go in and put Dame in with 8 minutes to play in the second quarter. That's not how it works. Dame comes back with about 5-6 minutes to go. He's going to finish the half at somewhere between 16, 17 minutes played. Like, he's on pace for over 30 minutes. That's just how it goes. And that's what happened every time. And people just, I don't know. And Dame was also some foul trouble. I think he had 3 fouls before the half ended tonight. But some people get upset about that. But I think the point you wanted to get into as well was Andre Jackson Jr. and MarJon Beauchamp. MarJon plays 11 minutes tonight. Andre Jackson Jr. only 2 minutes. A lot of talk. I mean, you have people, myself included, talking about potentially, should Andre Jackson Jr. be starting over Malik Beasley? Malik Beasley continues to shoot the ball just very well. He's 5 for 8 from 3 tonight. That's almost 62% from 3. Put up 15 points. So Malik Beasley, it is. I love guys because, and I'm gonna toot my own horn. Because back in the day when I was playing basketball, there were a lot of times when coaches wanted to get me out of the game. But you just had to find a way to make play. Like Malik Beasley, it's almost like every time it's like, well, can we put Jay in the starting lineup? Can we put Andre Jackson Jr.? Maybe MarJon? Like everybody's trying to find a way because like he can't play defense. Malik Beasley just continues to come out, play his role, hit shots, and even if he moves out of starting lineup, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what Trey's gonna have. He's got to play. He's playing at level. And that's what I like about Beasley. He's making it hard on Adrian Griffin. He's making it hard on fans. He's making it hard on everybody to want to bring him out of the lineup because you have to think that if he's not in, am I missing? Is that a 3-point shot that would have been made that Pat Connaughton just missed? Because Malik Beasley makes that shot, then he hits you with the wiggle.
And I think the one thing that's kind of thrown underneath the radar is the acquisitions Horst made this offseason. In the past couple off seasons, I think as Bucks fans been pretty critical of the way he's kind of rounded out the bench. The year of Semi-J and those type of moves that he's made. But I think, sorry to bring up a sore subject, but as he drinks his wine, I think the Malik Beasley addition obviously is proving to be a great addition. The guy tries, and that's all you can ask for. Obviously, if he's missing a lot of shots, he becomes unplayable. But he's shooting at a very high percentage, and he tries on defense, and that's all you can ask for. And his draft picks, John Horst, the last 2 picks, people have been very critical of his drafting. And I think the last 2 picks with Beauchamp and Andre Jackson Jr., not proven yet, but have shown signs of them being pretty good picks. But to go to your point, I think I'm looking ahead, but obviously to get experience, you need to get that experience in the regular season. Yep. But when I look at the teams that will be playing, Philly, Boston, and those type of teams, and even Cleveland, if we play, we need guys who are able to handle and dish out the physicality and have the energy and effort. I'll die on the hill. Like that to me is our biggest issue come playoffs. We are very inconsistent when it comes to starting out a game, let's say, or halfway through the game we're up, but we just let it go. We need guys like a Bobby Portis, like Jay Crowder if he's right. PJ Tucker a couple of years ago, who are always keeping the guys on their toes. But to go to the point, I do think Andre Jackson and Beauchamp need to get more experience during the regular season. And I love the energy that Andre brings. I like his bat. He's a rookie. He's going to have mistakes, but I love his basketball IQ for the most part. And I think that's what we need more of. There's a lot of times where I just feel like sometimes we just don't know what we're doing, or we make dumb mistakes. And I just feel like the more guys out there like Andre Jackson, like Jay Crowder, who hopefully have that dog mentality, you know, I think it's going to be very tough for Dr. Griffin to, you know, shorten rotations because I think it's crucial that some of these guys play. But this roster also isn't at its final state. There will be, I would be case precedent in history shows there will be a trade or a buyout signing. And I think it will be good for Jay Crowder to come back and, you know, kind of see where he's at. Give us a month to kind of see where he's at before the trade deadline and see what kind of pieces we need. So we have trade assets and he hasn't been afraid to use them. I saw a nice little rumor that Andrew Wiggins could be a potential trade target.
Saw that.
I don't know how I feel about it necessarily, but
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that one, but because I don't think that's necessarily what we need. I just think we need to be able to handle going into TD Garden in Boston and handling guys just spotting us up. And I think there are certain guys out there, like a guy in LA who plays for the Clippers who's disgruntled, who used to play for the Bucks named PJ Tucker, who can come and be that guy for us in addition to Jay. Everyone wants to look at the stats with PJ. It's not what you can't look at that. So I think Horst has always made the right move at the trade deadline and the buyout season. And whether it turns out as a good move, that's a different conversation. But at the time, he always makes the move that we need to make. And I trust that he'll do that. And we'll see where the bench goes from here.
I agree with a lot of those thoughts, a lot of that sentiment there. You talked about PJ Tucker talking, about what you want to do. I'm not sold yet on Andrew Wiggins as far as if that's really the route and direction you want to go. Remember, people talked about the Marcus Smart thing, and again, I think, and again, I've said it before. If you, the heart and soul of basketball teams are so crucial and so important. If you get rid of Bobby Portis at any point in time, you got to bring back a guy who can bring some of that fire and that energy. For as much as Bobby, like I said, does some things that you may not like. Even tonight, right? Like with Tristan Thompson, he gets double teched up. Tristan Thompson, what did Tristan? I think he grabbed. No, he forced a rebound. The ball's coming off, and Tristan Thompson, and rightfully so, he should have got. I see why Tristan Thompson was felt good about it. But Tristan Thompson, what ended up happening to him is they grab a rebound, and he's battling for the rebound, and I think it was Bobby Portis or somebody else, and they end up having to foul him. So they end up fouling him, right? And he gets up and kind of jumps up and he's like, yeah, like y'all, yeah, there were two Bucks guys there. I'm fighting, and then Bobby Portis looks at him and says, "Don't do that. Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth." You need guys that are gonna tell people to watch their mouth. You need that, 100%. You just need that. Dan, I'm gonna need you to take over for 1 second. I got to get a charger. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it. I'm trying to think of the right words. I think you have to look at the way our roster is constructed. I think the top four players is where you want to be. You have Giannis, Khris, Dame, Brooke. I think that's as good of a top four as you can have. I think that fifth starter is probably going to be Malik Beasley going forward, but you don't know that. And the bench is crucial. I know you tie in the rotations in the playoffs, but we saw when we won a championship how we got there. And we got there because of the toughness, the physicality, and obviously we hit a lot of tough contested jumpers, that Brooklyn, Atlanta, Phoenix series. And I think if we're going to be stagnant at points on offense, even though for the last week or two or month we've been pretty prolific, we have to have guys who are able to get stops on defense. And I'm of the firm belief that you got to have a guy next to Giannis, Middleton, and Dame who's going to be that stopper who you can put on them so those three can focus more of their energy on offense. Now, the argument's been made that Giannis should play more of a role defensively on the perimeter, guarding the other team's best guy. I think he can do that in spurts, but I think what I have liked is Dr. Griffin has been willing to try different things in the regular season, go to a zone, drop coverage, switching. But I think my challenge for him is he has to make that right call at the right time. Is this the time to be switching? Is this the time to be dropping? Or is this the time to run a zone? And I think he's learning. We're all learning how to play with each other. And I think going back to Khris was injured all last season. Everyone, expects game one Khris to be like he was 2, 3 years ago. Everyone needs to have patience. He will be fine. There are times where he looks like he can't move, but there's also times where he looks like he's honestly the best offensive player on the court. And I think come playoffs, he will be fine. And we'll see what kind of, you know, team we have come playoffs. So I think the guru Trey is somewhat back. There he is.
Yeah, so I did everything. I literally did everything but grab a charger, and so this is literally,
Okay.
and I can't find the box now. So I'm probably gonna just, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna go find a charger, and then I'm gonna before it goes out, and then I'll finish the show and bring back a part two in just a second, because this is
Okay.
yeah. So let me get out of here real quick.